Devin and I were talking during the break. We're going to peel back the curtain about how things happened because it was the email that I got from the offensive coordinator that mentioned the comments from Trevor Lawrence. And so I started down the rabbit hole during the break, and it was back in 2021, right? Prior to the draft, Trevor Lawrence said to Michael Rosenberg of Sports Illustrated, and I'm going to try to get to the meat of it. It's hard to explain this because he said, I don't need this for my life to be okay. It's hard for me to explain this because I want people to know I'm passionate about what I do, and it's really important to me, but I don't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everybody wrong. I just don't have that. I can't manufacture that. I don't want to. I think it's unhealthy to a certain extent, just always thinking you've got to prove somebody wrong, you've got to do more, you've got to be better. He's right that it's unhealthy to an extent. It's also a fundamental ingredient to reaching the highest level that you can in team sport, to ultimately achieving your full potential. Because what do the greats do? They seize on any slight and any opportunity to prove people wrong. Tom Brady is still trying to prove people wrong. Hell, the commercial they made for his debut as an announcer for Fox was completely rooted in people always doubting him and him trying to prove people wrong. It's a fundamental ingredient to greatness in sport, that desire to prove somebody wrong, even if you have to make it up like Michael Jordan did to prove somebody wrong. So that's coming back around now. And I hadn't even thought of it until I saw that line in the email, unsolicited from a former offensive coordinator. That's going to come back around now.
And I think, like you said, I agree with him, the unhealthy part of that to a certain extent. But I think the reverse side, when people are driven by people and trying to prove them wrong, is there's also a drive about you to prove people right. And I would have loved for Lawrence to talk about that. Maybe his personality, he's not the guy that says, so-and-so said I'm not good. This person, maybe he says, I don't care about those people. But what about the people who sacrifice, or they call you generation? Your drive could easily be like, I want to prove those people right. I want to prove them right for going out there on the limb and saying, I can be the next great quarterback when I was a sophomore in high school. Whatever that is, I think no matter who you are or what you've done or what you come, you need to have something that drives you. So, I get it. He said, he's still passionate. But what drives you? What gets you to do something that is abnormal to be great? Because no matter what we say, anybody who's been great at any sport, they go above and beyond to do something that to other people makes no sense to do. When I was training and I was getting ready, it'd be like 95 degrees. And I would tell my wife, she was studying, she was in med school. I was like, let's go to the field. You can lay out and study. I'm going to go run in the hottest time of the day. Most people don't want to do that. You have to find reasons why you want to do that. Mine was because Boston College said I wasn't good enough. They said my twin brother was better than me and they wouldn't offer me a scholarship. That fueled me all the way through my NFL career, and I still talk about it to this day. You mentioned Brady. Everyone has something. Amara St. Brown talks about, he remembers every receiver drafted over him. This guy has had the ultimate success, first team All-Pro. You just need something to drive you. I don't care if it's to prove people wrong. You just need something to drive you. And maybe Trevor Lawrence has it and he doesn't want to talk about it. But I will say, in this league, in today's age, when you put things out there and you talk about it, you better be ready for people to have an opinion on it. So he said these things. Career hasn't gone the way people were hoping. I think you might have just started something. This might start a trend for the rest of this week of everybody going back and reading through these quotes, but that's just not what you want to hear, especially when the team's performing the way that they are. And I know it's back in the day, it's the archives, but it's showing relevance now.
Don't blame me. It was the email that came from an offensive coordinator. Because when I saw that line, because I skimmed it last night and I thought it was relevant to our conversation, I started reading it. It's like, what's he talking about? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So, but look, I'd like to think we all at some point in our lives have had something happen that causes us to say, I'll show you. Mm-hmm. And when you have that, I'll show you moment, it gives you clarity. It gets you to, I talked about this earlier, it gets you to do things you'd otherwise not do. Get up earlier to do whatever it is you have to do. Stay up later. Not watch that show you want to watch. Not go to that movie. Not play that video game. I got to focus on this because I got to prove that that person who has a preconceived notion about me is incorrect. And I'm not saying you should be obsessed by that, but the best of the best are. That's one of the ingredients. You got to have a screw loose to compete with other people who have a screw loose, because they will. Remember when Tom said, if you're going to compete with me, you have to sign your life over as a prerequisite to even having a chance, because I have. And we know what toll it took on him personally. And I bet still, in a quiet moment, he doesn't regret it, because he's pursuing something in his mind that is bigger than the day-to-day harmony and balance that you're trying to strive for in life. He's pursuing something that's immortal, not something that's here and now. So you got to have that. You got to have that. Or you have to be so far more talented than the people you're competing with that it doesn't matter.
And we don't see that in the NFL. Guys who are extremely talented, they might have a year or two, but eventually some small nagging injury, something makes you have to work your butt off. And especially if we talk about longevity, sustained success, you got to be willing to do things other people wouldn't do. Tom Brady used to sleep at the facility when we got back late night for games so he could wake up and be in treatment bright and early on Monday. The guy was obsessed, and I get it. Like you said, you don't have to be like that. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, like a lot of the guys who were like that, they're the greatest of all time. They get mentioned that way because, I mean, that's what it takes to have that. And I think for Trevor Lawrence, I don't knock you for not wanting to do that and saying, that's not me. That's not how I see life. That's perfectly fine. But I think the reality is you might never reach that level of success that some of these other guys have reached. And hey, for all we know, he might be okay with that. And that's okay too. Maybe not for Jacksonville fans and maybe not for Shad Khan. And we'll see how that works out. But you can't knock that as a person.
We all got to make the decisions that are right for ourselves, up to and including, retiring as the top NBA insider to be the GM of the St. Bonaventure basketball program. If that's what's right for you, and I'm not saying that derisively, if that's what's right for you, you do it. But the point is, if you're going to compete at this level with the best of the best, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. That's just what it is. That's who you're competing with. You're competing with a bunch of psychos, as Sims would say, in a good way. Guys who will sign their life over to it. So you're operating with one hand behind your back if you don't. If you're just relying on talent.
Only thing I was going to say, that's why they paid him that contract. So as much as it's okay as a person to not be that way, they paid him all of that money expecting him to be that way and to be that quarterback for them.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.